All right, so now we're gonna move on to part three. This is part three, how to write a creative brief. And I'm gonna disagree with a lot of stuff here, but the disagreement's gonna help, I think, expose some misunderstandings. All right, so stand by one. All right, so let's go down to how to write a creative brief. So decide on a name for the project. Yeah, that's kind of like that's more project management though. I've never seen the name of a project in the creative brief, although it doesn't really matter. You just make that the title of the creative brief, whatever, right? Decide on the name of the project. I feel like they're going into way too much detail about stuff that's not really that important to the creative brief. Write about the brand and summarize the project's background. So again, I think this is written by AI. And what they talk about is another simple yet essential section is the company background. If you work in an agency setting, this is non-negotiable as your team is likely handling several client campaigns at once. Um, so new hires on your team, freelancers and vendors will appreciate the background that your internal team is already privy to. Nobody like copywriters and creatives, they don't want to read a whole bunch of crap. They want to create and they don't want to read. That's why you have to keep it super duper concise and super duper focused for creatives because they don't want to read all your confusing, nuanced background. If it's nuanced, forget it. You want the creative brief cannot be nuanced. Do not make it nuanced. You can say, oh, but that's the reality of our, campaign or whatever. No, usually when people say nuanced, when they write a creative brief, they haven't done the hard work to make it clear. Nuance sometimes means we don't want to tell the truth. We have some political reason for not wanting to tell the truth in the company. We're going to make someone mad, or whatever, or we're going to sound like, I don't know, we're going to sound mean or something. Like, guys, strategy is there's a reason that I think a lot of account planners, really good account planners, are British historically. And a lot of times I think it's because the British culture, they can sometimes be a little more direct. And I think Americans, I don't know, we're more polite about these things or something. I don't know, but because they're more direct, a lot of times they're able to say, it's kind of like that guy I told you about in a different video who said, remember how I told you about there's the account manager who cares about what the client thinks. And then there's the account planner, the strategist who cares about what the customer thinks. And this guy, one time, there's this guy, right? This guy, Dave. And he told the client one time, he said, I don't care what you want. I care what your customers want because that's what's going to sell the stuff for you. That's what's going to sell what your customers want. If I cared about what you wanted, then my message would be very different. But I'm talking to your clients, your customers, the people you want to talk to. Then I'm making a case for them that they will care about. And that's why I do research, right? So this guy, Dave, this British guy, right? He's able just to tell, and he's a punk rocker too. He's literally in the band, the Gang of Four. Um, and so I think he was a bass player or something, Dave Allen. But anyway, and I'm just like, dude, that's awesome. I want to do that. I want to tell the truth and I want to have a singular focus and I don't want to play political games just so I don't make people mad. Well, guess what? If you write creative briefs, you're going to get some much better creative. But be careful because you might make some people mad. So, copywriters, we don't want to read a bunch of background, right? Just tell me what I need to know. What is it we're selling? Who's it for? And why does it matter? And if you can't fit it on one page, then you need to understand it better. Sounds mean, right? But that's the truth. So I'm going to skim through here. Has the company launched a campaign like this before? Man, that's a lot of information. And I can see why they'd want to add it, but no, not in a one-page creative brief. Creative brief. Highlight the project objective. Yeah, what's the CTA? That's all I care. I don't care what the project objective. I want to know what the CTA is for this campaign. What is the call to action for this campaign? That's all I want to know. If you have more than one call to action, maybe you have more than one campaign. If you have more than one audience member you're talking to, you need more than one creative brief. If you have more than one benefit you're trying to give to the client, you're the end customer. Sorry, I keep saying that. Client is the company you're advertising for, their audience is and who you're advertising to. Okay, sorry about that. And I forgot where I was now. So so the project objective, I don't care what you want your project to do. I only care how it affects the creative brief. Oh yeah, I remember what I was saying. If your persona that you're selling to has more than one problem to solve, you need two creative briefs, two campaigns, two separate campaigns, because a campaign has one what is it, one who it's for, and one why do they care. And that's all the creative brief has room for. Only one. Don't have an and, don't have an or. If you do, make sure that you're not make sure that you're not asking the copywriter to guess at which one that you want to focus on. Okay, highlight project objective. Okay, here's a example. Let's look at this. The problem: the brand's extensive service has led misinterpretations about PayPal being an online shopping payment system. Currently, the brand perception is that PayPal's just an alternative to credit cards or other means of online payment. Our goal: PayPal's main essence is to deal with our daily money transactions. Our goal is to clarify the misconceptions surrounding the brand and reiterate what PayPal is all about: a virtual wallet where the user is in control. Okay, so they're using contractions because they're trying to be like relatable. I'm not entirely against that. It just kind of sounds silly to me, but a little bit. Let's go from the top. The brand's extensive service. Okay, this is how you cut copy. You take out extensive. What do you mean extensive? Like, why does I'm writing an ad. I want to know, what is it we're selling? Who's it for? Why does it matter? If you give me extensive, if you give me a bunch of modifiers that you can't explain, I don't know how to use that at all. It just becomes clutter in my brain. So the brand's extensive service had led to misinterpretations about PayPal being an online shopping payment system. So what are you saying? It's led to misinterpretations about the fact that it's an online payment system, or it's led to misinterpretations that PayPal is only an online shopping payment system? It kind of is what it sounds like, but that sentence sucks. Writers or strategists, write better sentences. Currently, the brand perception is that PayPal is just an alternative to credit cards or other means of online payment. Okay, I think if I'm a strategist, I'm like, okay, why is that a problem? Tell me why that's a problem so I can solve that. Right now, it's like this is the problem for the client. I don't care about the client's problem. I don't care about what the company's problem is. I want to know how to solve the client. There I go again. I want to know how to who are we advertising to? I want to know how to solve their problem, because that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm not going to be talking about this. Don't tell people about the problem. Our goal: PayPal's main essence is to deal with our daily money transactions. Deal with? That's not specific. Our goal is to clarify the misconceptions surrounding the brand. Okay, what are the misconceptions surrounding the brand? I don't know what they are right now. And reiterate what PayPal is all about: a virtual wallet where the user is in control. Okay, what problem justifies the solution? What problem does the end user have? That's what I want to know. I don't want to know all this crap. This is all superfluous. I do not care as a copywriter. I don't care. This is a bunch of strategy stuff that needs to be culled from the creative brief. Don't put most of this in the creative brief. Okay, describe the target audience. Now, this is going to be big. Describe the target audience. One of the best things you can do, let's see what they say, and then let me react to that. Demographics. Simple demographic information gives your team insight into exactly who the audience is. This includes data points like age, income, education, ethnicity, and occupation. Okay, so demographics are the language of media. It helps the media buyer. It helps the media buyer to buy the media. It starts to get to where we're going to buy media, because these are like falsifiable data points where you can go in and set like a drop-down menu that says age range, drop-down menu that says education, ethnicity, occupation, right? Demographics, I've seen them in creative briefs. They're not super duper helpful. Behaviors. You know what I'd rather know than a demographic? What I'd rather have is a picture of a person. Sometimes it's called Meet Maria, or I don't know, Meet Mario, or a persona or whatever, right? People call them different things. But the Meet Maria is basically like, here's Maria. She has a dog. She works for this kind of company. Her main frustration, though, is this. Here's why it's a frustration, right? And you only list frustrations that the product can solve. You don't list a bunch of frustrations. You only list the frustrations that this product can solve, and you go in deep. And that's what people don't do. They're like, oh, she has a problem with PayPal. What was PayPal's one? She has a problem. She doesn't know how to have an online, wallet, that is her personal online wallet. Well, yeah, but why does she need that? What problem in her life does she understand where an online personal online wallet would help her, right? If you can make that case, now you can write some sweet headlines, right? Because you can say she can only buy dog treats for her dog, and now you have a specific target audience, and now you can talk about dog stuff. You can make a dog themed headline, right? A dog themed campaign, it can be, right? But nobody's going to commit to a dog themed thing unless the research says this is who we're talking to. That's why you have to get deep. And so, because the copywriter is going to have a lot of fun with that, right? They're going to have fun if you give them a specific person who they feel like they can know and understand. So demographics, very, very, very general, very media focused. That doesn't tell me who I'm talking to really. Behaviors. So this is where it's getting a little closer. Buying behaviors, trends, and other customer history make up the target audience behaviors. These provide important context to the creative brief because they explain where the customer is in their buyer journey. Yeah, usually when I hear behaviors, I don't hear where they are in the buyer journey. I hear how do they look for information and things like that. So maybe um but only as it relates to this product and solving a problem for them. Okay, psychographics, how they think, right? This is how the audience thinks and feels about your brand and the product or service you sell in general. Yeah, I like how they said about your brand, about your product and service. I would say how they feel about your product or service. I wouldn't say about your brand in the creative brief. Again, we need to minimize this creative brief. So it's simple. Geographics, wow, I haven't really heard that one very much. This is more of a media thing. This whole thing feels a little bit more media focused now that I look at it. What we want is a Meet Maria. We want to meet Maria. Tell me who this person is. Give me a little background about what they like, and then tell me their problem. Little background, a couple sentences on their life. Then give me tell me what problem they have, and then tell me why it's such a problem for them that we're going to solve, right? That your product solves for them. Pro tip, shouldn't be long. Amen to that. Should be one page. And this section can take up quite a bit of space, and it does. The what is it? Who's it for? Why does it matter? Who's it for is kind of usually the biggest section in the creative brief. Here's how the sample brief for PayPal noted above thoughtfully explains the new product's target audience. Thoughtfully, that sounds like it's going to be a bloated piece of crap brief, but that's just me. Who will we engage? Teenagers whose age ranges from 12 to 17 years old. They try to balance between school, a part-time job, extracurricular activities, family, and friends. Great. They're trying to balance. I still don't see the problem yet. At this point in their lives, they're starting to become independent and branch out their lives through their friends. This is written by a foreigner, it looks like. Classmates and other people around them. They are curious and are trying to establish connections that would stand the test of time. They trust their friends and peers basically because they value their opinions. They want control over their money, how they're going to use it, and when they're going to use it, but not want the complexity, but not want the complexities that come with using a credit card. So first of all, are these people convinced that credit cards are complex? As a copywriter, I'm like, I don't believe that. It seems like a credit card would be really simple for them. And I just don't know how many of them can get credit cards. I don't think they've researched the problem very well. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, what's the problem? Right. And give me a meet Maria. Give me a picture, a snapshot of one of these people so I can know. Because we all know students, right? We all know people who are going to high school. Tell me who I'm talking to, pinpoint that so that as a writer that I can write to that person. This this pretty much sucks. I give this a D minus for a creative brief. Who will we engage, the who it's for, right? This really could be better. This is not an experienced strategist and account planner. Interpret the competitive landscape. No, we don't interpret the competitive landscape. We don't need that in the creative brief. The creative brief just needs to tell me, after you've done the research on the competitive landscape, tell the copywriter what the conclusion is. We're going to focus on this. Nobody else is talking about this. We're going to focus on this. I don't need to know who's talking about what. I don't need to study. I'm not the strategist. I'm the writer. The creative brief is written to the writer, not it's written by the strategist to the writer. The strategist gives the writer only what they need to know very clearly, the building blocks for the campaign. Man, this is not what I would call a creative brief. This is what I call a marketing brief. Okay. Or maybe at a higher level, campaign plan. I think it's more of a campaign plan. The creative brief is one page. What is it we're selling? Who's it for? Why does it matter to them? Okay, interpret the competitive landscape. No. Prepare the key message. Okay, yes. So once you've written the what is it for, who's it, what is it, who's it for, why does it matter, then those things, now that you understand what they are, you summarize them into a single most important thought, single most important idea, single most compelling thought. It's called a lot of different things, but you want that sentence and then you want to put it at the top, right? Like right after the name of the creative brief, you put the single most important thought. The key message can be the most difficult part, yes, of the creative brief to develop, because just about every stakeholder will have different opinion of what it should be. Nope, you don't have every stakeholder speaking into the creative brief. You have a strategist, and you don't have a bunch of stakeholders, right? You have a strategist who decides, and but you know what they're probably saying is that as a strategist, okay, I overreacted there. Yeah. So, but it doesn't matter what everybody thinks. Again, it is you only care about the end audience. You don't care about what the client wants. You care about their strategy, the result you want, but really you need to be more focused on what the customers want, because that's going to be success for your campaign and for your client. Hopefully they're not hiring you to do, to advertise to them, right? Your client's not hiring you to advertise to them. They're hiring you to advertise to their audience. Okay, to get buy-in faster, try this simple trick. Ask yourself, we're launching this project, so what? Yeah, that's a good question. So what is actually a good question. We need to be really direct. I remember when I was first learning about creative briefs, the strategist who was teaching me, he was like, who cares? And I was like, well, and he wanted a really concise who cares. And I felt like he was being difficult, and he might have been being difficult. He's a strategist, but I needed to answer that question. Who cares? So what is your key message? It explains why your target audience should stop what they're doing and pay attention to your campaign. Yes. Why should they stop? Why would they want to stop? Now, this is different from why the client thinks they should stop. This is why they think they should stop. The client does not decide for them what they listen to and what they don't listen to. They decide. Okay. The key message includes the pain point, what the audience's experience might be like without the pain point. Yep. Yeah, this is good because this focuses on the benefit. What's the benefit to your audience? Man, if you don't have that, then you don't really know why it matters to them, do you? Okay, this framework places the customer in the spotlight of the campaign. Okay, this is what matters, right? Put them in the middle. Instead of telling them what this product or service could do for them, it positions them as the main character in the journey from the problem to solution. So this is where the AI who wrote this got it right. All right, choose the key consumer benefit. I think we just talked about that, right? It's just right here. This whole thing was just talking about that, right? Well, let's see what they have to say. If you're launching a new product, there are likely several features and benefits that the target audience will experience when they decide to purchase it. However, it's difficult to structure a campaign around several different features. Yeah, exactly. This is exactly right. If you try to position a campaign, structure a campaign around several different features, then you're going to have a bunch of ideas in the ad competing, and it's going to flatten the ad. It's going to be plain vanilla ad. Nobody's going to see it. It's not going to stand out. You need to pick one thing. But usually, and this is a different video, but we're not talking about different features. We're talking about different benefits. You need to find one benefit. There could be different features that support one benefit. And you can list those features in the ad, but the headline has the benefit. And the subheadline, it's all talking about the benefit. And even those features are just there to prove that you can back up what you say you can back up and give them the benefit. And I've never heard of a key consumer benefit KCB. I've never heard of that in my life. I'm sure it's used in certain pockets of marketing and advertising in some colleges. Maybe you've heard of it. I've never heard of it. To choose the right KCB, you'll want to get input from the project stakeholders and rely on consumer data to guide the decision. Sure, whatever. Your KCB won't always be the fanciest feature of your product. True, the benefit that solves the biggest problem for your audience is a great choice for the KCB. Yes. Engineers like, here's what it does. Here's the cool feature that we have. Customers don't always care about that. That's why you have a strategist, because they care about what the customer thinks and they're going to advertise based on that. Select an attitude. The tone and voice of your campaign create the overall attitude, and that should be consistent throughout every creative element that's being developed. A new copywriter coming in should not. So this comes from your brand. This doesn't come from your marketing plan. Your first, as a strategist, you consult the brand and you give them the brand guidelines, and you don't change how you sound from campaign to campaign. You're the same person. If you're sarcastic one time, don't be super sweet the next time, right? So this is of limited value. I've never seen attitude. Maybe I've seen people try to smush brand into the creative brief. Maybe you could make a case for that, but it better be like one sentence and it better be clear as freaking crystal, right? If you're going to be like, oh, it's sort of kind of this, you know what I mean? Then don't put that in the creative brief. There's no room for ambiguity. It all has to be black and white. And if you think that creatives like ambiguity, let me know in the comments, because I'm going to make a video about that if enough people think that. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to move on. Determine the best call to action. Yeah, I mean, yeah, what do you want them to do? But usually that in B2B, that comes from the biz dev team. Like they're like, we want phone calls, or we want emails, or we want form fills. And if we can't get that, we want, a lot of times marketing will say, okay, if we can't get that, we want nurture. We want you to join our email list and get educated by us, right? Which is very good for professional services, thought leadership. That's great. But the call to action, there's one call to action in an ad. There's one call to action in a creative brief. Get them to this homepage, get them to click. So they go to the landing page, right? And the landing page is focused on that benefit, focused on that audience, and gets them to understand this is for you. And this is something that you will really enjoy. Leave it to the landing page to tell them, well, if you don't want to buy now, at least join our email list and get a discount or something, right? When you do buy. And then draft the distribution plan. This is the media plan, folks. This is not the creative brief. This is the media plan. Don't do this. Do not put this in the creative brief. And then share the creative brief with stakeholders. So this is a good idea. And why? Not because we want their input necessarily. It's because when the creative comes out, we want them to agree on the creative brief before we ask the creatives to write it, because the creatives use a lot of energy writing the 100 headlines. If all of a sudden someone comes back with new information, oh, we don't want to do that, we want to do this, that exhausts the creatives because it was fresh before, now it's stale. And now the work, right, in the mind of the creative, you're going to burn your creatives if you do that. So show it to the stakeholders, and then when the creative comes back with your best headlines, your best campaigns, however you show that to your stakeholders, then you also have the brief, and you started out by saying, here's what you said, here's the brief, here's what we talked about, here's why. Got it, everybody? Good. Now we're going to show you what came out of that, and we're going to tie it back to the creative brief. And so now there's objectivity. And so if somebody comes in and is like, oh, I don't want to alienate this audience because we're only talking to this audience, you show them the creative brief and say, here, see this? This is who we said we were talking to. That's who we're talking to with this campaign. Cool. And now you're getting agreement, and hopefully they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. I remember. Thank you. Right. Okay. What else we got? Creative brief templates. Okay. I'm going to do another video about templates because I want to go through and critique these with you.